And with his 8th win of the season and the IndyCar Series title practically assured, Alex Palou showed why he is the global superstar in red and yellow that truly is immortal. Brother, welcome back to Motorsport 101.
Boo this man. Boo. You had to do it, didn't you? You had to do it.
Because if we recorded one day later, we would have mentioned it at some point.
This is true. However, I think a lioness's joke was right there. You could say that, hey, for once, Spain didn't elect to bottle it when it mattered most.
I know people are going to be touchy about, the Euros kicked IndyCar down the can. We got to start delayed by like 20 minutes, brah.
Who cares? It was 20 less minutes you had to hear of Townsend Bell. Who's really complaining here?
It's not like the Stanley Cup playoffs are getting kicked for Kentucky Derby pre-race coverage. I still remember the days when the NHL was just trying to build its image back in North America.
Also, by the way, hi, I'm Dre Harrison. Welcome to episode 606 of Motorsport 101. Glad you could join us. Can you tell that we've already got off the deep end already here, and we've not even really got started yet? This is apparently going to be an IndyCar episode on Laguna Seca, but we're playing fast and loose with it a little bit because we know there's not a huge amount to take out of that round.
It just like race control determining when to throw a full course caution or not.
Oh, fuck me. That was grim. We'll get into that as well, of course. And, of course, the obvious fact. Alex Palou won again. He's making history. He's chasing history. His 8th win of the 2025 season. He cannot stop winning. It is ridiculous. He has his first genuine championship point at Portland in a week and a half's time. And, well, Paddock Award is probably going to have to win to make sure of it. But we'll have to wait and see. But, of course, I'm joined by RJ O'Connell. How's it going, RJ?
What's good, everybody? Yep, busy week. We had a motorsport, which also included, and again, I hate to make NASCAR jump the queue ahead of IndyCar, but we're all big Bubba Wallace fans here. And I know Dre was not happy about the prospect of Bubba Wallace having to point his way into the playoffs because that seemed to be the play last year, and then it all blew up in his face. And we were just like, that can't happen again. He had not won in 100 Cup Series points-paying races until we got to the Brickyard 400, where when he should have ran out of fuel, with his car on fumes and with Kyle Larson chasing him down, he drives away from him, wins the race, punches his ticket to the stupid playoffs, but it doesn't matter because he won at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Super Speedway, and he was so pumped about it.
It was wonderful. And I actually was fully angry at our Discord server because I thought they had jumped the gun on this.
Yeah, because you have to understand, Bubba Wallace wins in the M101 Discord community are like perfect games in baseball. You can mention that something's happening, but it's bad luck to say that, oh my gosh, a perfect game is happening. Just like it's bad luck to say, oh, Bubba Wallace is leading with like 10 laps to go in a NASCAR Cup Series race. I think he's got a chance to win. And then something happens. There's a late caution. He gets blown up on a restart. He finishes like 4th. It's not a bad result, but it's not a win.
Exactly. And, you know, the nature of it's the Brickyard, the nature of Kyle Larson being the one directly behind him, a rival, a former friend. And we all know Larson's one of the best in the business. The connotations that come with that, the nature of rain right before the end of the race. There was a rain delay caution. The fact that Bubba was very tight on fuel. It felt like the famous Bathurst race with Jamie Whincup and the broken intercom. Mate, you're in the pot. You're going to run out. We need maximum fuel save. I think they literally said to Bubba at one point, like, fuel save to death and pray. basically. And as Kira points out in the chat, there was literally just enough for a few celebratory donuts because he ran out going to the elevator.
I was so worried he was going to run out coming out of 4 on the run of the flag.
So did I, because we got a bit of a lucky break because Larson almost lost the car in the first lap of overtime. Well, it was double OT by that point. And we just thought, shit, he's going to come back and steal this. Like William Byron, who was running third, ran out with 2 corners to go.
Yeah, and he was pretty much on the same strategy.
Yeah, so we were just sitting there going, Bubba's on fumes. Like, the engine was probably like coughing at that point. Not like this, but he held
Automobile racing, social media's biggest Bubba Wallace fans were just like, oh, man, we got fucking jobbed.
Oh, yeah. But he didn't. He won. He's in the playoffs now. Yes.
He won.
Yes.
He's in the playoffs. Like, look, the playoffs are stupid and dumb. We acknowledge this.
Absolutely.
He's got a ticket to the dance. Just see how far it rides, man.
Look, it could be one and done for all we know. There is a street circuit in the round, or there's a road course in the round of 16, which does not help because SVG will almost certainly win it. So that probably won't help either. But, you know, it's something. I'm just glad we made it after the heartbreak of last year being the 17th seed and Harrison Burton stealing a playoff spot last year. In spectacular fashion, may I add, but still, I was still salty as hell about that. Still am to a degree.
Look, that race for the last 3 bubble spots can be somebody else's problem. Also, I love, and I hate to acknowledge, the detractors that have more than just a pure results-based reason to hate this guy. Saying that NASCAR did him a solid when he drives for a team that is currently in intense litigations with NASCAR about their right to race as a team without having to sign the charter agreement, sign over all the things that entails.
Yeah. Only the 3rd open class winner since the charter system came into existence.
Yeah. The others were
funny.
AJ Allmendinger, back when he was part-time, and Shane Van Gisbergen on his debut. The circumstances were a bit different.
Oh, good shit. Good shit. We take those. I got another diecast to buy on that one.
You gotta buy the Chumba Casino diecast, man.
Oh, it's gonna be a thing, let me tell you. And yeah, it's worth noting as well, the first black man to win a race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's oval. Yes, people are going to comment that Lewis Hamilton did win on the road course with F1 last raced there in 2007. You're not here for Indianapolis's road course, and don't pretend like you are. And also, the fact we're using one black man's achievement to try and pin down another, I find deeply problematic. This was a historic win, as Ryan King beautifully wrote about on Jalopnik earlier this week. They used to ban black drivers from being able to race at the Indy 500. We know the story of Wendell Scott in NASCAR and his discrimination. I'm just glad that Bubba gets to make a little bit of history, an important bit of history about the history of motorsport in North America in general.
Absolutely.
And we'll be doing that again very shortly for Alex Palou. Not quite the same historical significance, but, you know.
It's different, but it is historically significant. But, Dre, first and foremost, you got to tell the people where they can find us.
Of course I can. We're on youtube.com/motorsport101. We're on facebook.com, /line. We're on Twitter at motorsport_101. We're on Blue Sky. Dre Harrison and RJ O'Connell at bsky.social. You can also follow us on Instagram at motorsport101pod, or on TikTok at m101_podcast for highlights of the show on there as well. YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok have all got video highlights of our shows. Check them out if you haven't already, and I'll occasionally do some bonus content there as well. Our website, motorsport101.com, if you want to get all of our episodes, all of our content, and some written content in the blog section as well. We've got a MotoGP mid-season review coming up very shortly, as well as the monthly Ask Dre post for July as well. Do check that out as well. Get your questions in if you want to probe my brain for all things motorsport and beyond. You can do that over there. And if you really, really like us, you can back us financially on Patreon. Patreon.com/motorsport101. $5 $5 gets you early access to all of our content. You can upgrade to the $10 tier to listen to these episodes live as they're being recorded, as Kira, Vic, and Jason are doing so right now. Thank you for the support, and we hope you continue to enjoy the show. I've put it off for long enough. RJ, it's time to talk about that damn Spaniard at the IndyCar Grand Prix of Monterrey.
What else can we say about him at this point? Alex Palou qualified on pole for the 5th time this year. Out of the 95 laps that we had at Laguna Seca, he led 84 of them. He took his 8th win of the season. We'll talk about the significance of that. I mean, Colton Herta tried, Lundgaard tried. Even when 3 safety cars got in the way of the running, crash between Simpson and Felix Rosenqvist in the opening lap. Then Marcus Ericsson and Rinus Veekay got together. We'll talk about that shortly. And then Marcus Ericsson spun at the top of the crest before the corkscrew. We'll talk about that too. But none of that mattered for Alex Palou. Every restart, he'd stretch the gap back out again. No driver set a lap time within 7/10 Palou's best across the race. He now has a 121-point lead over Pato O'Ward. And Palou knows that as long as he doesn't lose 13 or more points to Pato in Portland, he'll leave Portland as a 4-time series champion in 5 years. Alex Palou's average finish, by the way, at Laguna Seca now is 1.6. Alex Palou clinched the 2023 title in Portland. First driver to do that early since the reunification of the sport in 08.
Yeah, but if it wasn't done 2 rounds early, though, which is what we're potentially talking about here.
Could be 3.
Could be 3.
Could be 3.
In the modern age of IndyCar /kart / North American single-seater racing as we know it, only 8 men in history have ever won 8 races in a season or more. You've got the Club of 8, Tony Bettenhausen in 1951, Michael Andretti in 1991, Alonso Jr. in 1994, Sebastian Bourdais in the final year of Champ Car in 2007. You've got Mario Andretti, who won 9 back in 1969. And then you've got the big 2, AJ Foyt's 10-win season in 1964 and Alonso Sr.'s 1970. There's still time for Palou to potentially beat them all. He can win 11 if he runs the table. 2 out of 3 to tie. We've got Portland next weekend, and then to close out the season over the next 2 weeks, we've got 2 short ovals in Milwaukee and Nashville, which is more of like a medium oval than a short oval. But it's an oval nonetheless. What are we witnessing here, RJ? Because this is ridiculous. This is just
Let me offer some historical context. Now, I will always go on the record, and King will do as well, that when Sebastian Bourdais won 8 races in 2007, he was not just beating a field full of cab drivers.
No.
He beat a future 2-time series champion and Indy 500 winner Will Power, a future Indy 500 winner and series champion Simon Pagenaud, a future 19-year veteran and multi-time race winner Graham Rahal, a future Le Mans 24 Hours overall winner and World Endurance champion Neil Johnny to get there. But you can't also deny that the sport was divided. Not all the best drivers were racing together during the most recent split. The CART IRL, the Champ Car IndyCar split. So keep that in mind. And then before then, Michael Andretti and Alonso Jr. did this in what is largely considered the last golden age of American automobile racing. The PVG IndyCar World Series was big in the early 90s. So big that we're still trying to figure out how do we get back there. And we may never do that as far as a mainstream event outside the Indianapolis 500. It was a different ballgame back then. You had open choice of tires, chassis, engines, etc., etc. What Palou's doing in this environment, where it's so competitive from top to bottom, there's a big 4 of teams that have multiple cars that can win any given weekend. if all was equal, right? Palou is dominating in this sort of environment with spec chassis, spec tires, spec everything. This series is not engineered for one driver to do this. I don't think he beats Foyt and Unser. I think he could tie Andretti. He either gets a win at Portland, or he shows that he's not just a two-dimensional road and street course driver, because he has won on short notice. He's won the Indianapolis 500. I think he ties. I don't think he ties the record. I don't think he breaks the record. But I mean, if we said it a million times before, say it again. It's the best season that I've seen in a long time. The best season I've seen through.
It's wild that I looked at 2023 and said on this podcast, I don't think we'll see a season like that again. And he's gone and put down something that's even better. That was... And I've been watching IndyCar for 10 years now. I think 2015 was my first season with Juan Pablo Montoya and Will Power and a very young Joseph Newgarden still at CFH, for example.
Scott Dixon.
And then Scott Dixon. I've seen the modern backbone of what IndyCar is, and I have full respect for the entire roster. They are getting beaten into a pulp right now by Alex Palou. I have never seen anything like this. This is a shellacking. That was about as flawless an IndyCar race as you will ever see from anyone. That was a 95-lap IndyCar race, and not for a single lap that I think Alex Palou wasn't going to win. Zero.
Mm-hmm.
He was never in trouble. He never looked like he was in any kind of danger. He always had the pace advantage over his rivals. And every time the racing gods tested him with a caution, he was virtually flawless in just ripping off an enormous lead after the fact and getting back into a comfortable zone. Palou was flawless. If it wasn't for Nolan Siegel, who was off sequence, there's a chance Palou leads every single lap of this race because he was able to stretch his fuel longer than everybody else. He was able to stretch his tires longer than everybody else. It was never in doubt. From the first corner to the last, it was flawless.
I mean,
absolutely flawless.
You couldn't have said better myself. I mean, talk about Siegel leading off sequence. Palou put a outside contender for the Golden Melon. And I know there is a tire offset in this, but to pass him around the outside of turn 3 is just, you're not meant to do that in high downforce single seaters.
It's stupid. That was ridiculous. He just straight up drove around the outside of him, and there was nothing Siegel could do about it. Nothing.
Yeah.
It was a statement of, I'm just that much faster than you. Well, I can just go around the outside of you on a corner you're not supposed to pass around and just sent it. It was just if there's ever been a message of intent sent out against the field by accident, it's that. Just destruction. Like, there was enough. Siegel was helpless on that one. And again, he didn't need to pass him, but he did because he could. It was just suffocatingly brilliant.
Just see a reality where maybe, just maybe, if he spends a bit more time behind him, he gives the likes of Lundgaard and Holden Kirk catch up. Guess we'll never know because we don't live in that reality.
Nope. Some of the numbers that leap off the page. Again, his best lap was 7 tenths quicker than anybody else on circuit. No one was in the same ballpark. And every time there was a restart, first lap, 1 second advantage. 2 laps in, 1.8, 2.5, 3 seconds. It was like watching Prime Schumacher just put qualifying laps down every single lap. I've never seen... You're not supposed to do this in IndyCar. You're just not. And it was mind-boggling. I was laughing watching this race on Discord. I was laughing because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I know this is going to be a bit of a glaze session, this pod, for very reason, but you're just going to have to forgive us on this one because that what can you say about something that all-encompassing? There was nothing that anybody could have done about that.
Yeah.
Just nuts.
When I first started IndyCar, watching IndyCar racing, there was another Alex who drove for Chip Ganassi in red and yellow colors. Alex Zanardi.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have known, he made a very famous pass here in 1996. And that's what really started the legend of Alex Zanardi, who then went on to win back-to-back series titles. Could have won an Indy 500 if the sport was not as messed up as it was. There's now a new Alex, and there is, I dare say, better Alex. Take nothing away from what Zanardi accomplished during his racing career, and especially after that. But when it comes down to just like driving an American open wheel racing, in the short time that they've respectively been there, Zanardi for most of 4 seasons, Palou for the better part of 6. Palou's got him beat. And there's no shame in saying that.
It is the lowest average finish in IndyCar of any driver on any track. Better than New Garden in Iowa. Better than New Garden at Gateway. Like, just better than Dixon in Mid-Ohio. Like, there are certain tracks where people just dominate. And his average finish is 1.6 here.
It was 1.75.
It's the great John Boy's video on the Bob emergency talking about Bob Gibson's 1968. And it's like trying to crack a combination of a safe, because once you get below 2, it's increasingly difficult, just mathematically, to get that average down any lower. You've got to keep being perfect. At this point, finishing second would bump the average back out again. He has to win, and he keeps winning at Laguna Seca. Look, I don't think he'll get to 10, to be honest. Chip Ganassi and Alex are just not gangbusters on short ovals, and in my opinion, short ovals are a lot more random than the average IndyCar race. Like on a road and street track, I think things are a bit more conventional when it comes to the racing as opposed to an oval race. He doesn't need to win 10 races this season.
Yeah, good
for me. He doesn't need the record. This is the greatest IndyCar season I've ever seen, and no matter what happens now, like Vic pointed out in the stats, his average finish on road courses this season, 1.17. Virtually unbeatable. I think it's nearly exactly 1 if he wins in Mid-Ohio and he doesn't bottle it. It's laughable what we're witnessing here. It's ridiculous.
Which that mistake would have put him at 9, which means at Portland, another track that he's good at, he could go tie the record. But he only has 8 wins. A feat that only 3 other people have. Venerated as like the greatest of all time. AJ Foyt, Al Unser Sr., Mario Andretti. Yeah, good company.
The greatest this series I've ever seen. Some of the most revered and respected racers in North American history.
Yeah. We watched them. We watched them all in their old age on episode 600.
And let's cut to the chase. We're almost certainly crowning his coronation in a week and a half's time in Portland.
I'm surprised we haven't done that already, though.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Detroit, we probably would have already been doing it, which is terrifying in its own right. Because he was taken out that day by David Malukas or running in the top 5. I mean, it's crazy what we're witnessing. It is unbelievably special. And we're going to wax more lyrical in Portland because the only way that we don't have a champion next weekend is if, like, Palou would have... It's a situation where, if the maths is right, Palou, if he finishes second and takes any bonus point, that will do it. Yeah. Like, Palou would have to win with every bonus point on the table with Palou second just to keep it alive to Milwaukee.
There's a maximum 49-point swing at every IndyCar round.
Yep.
Unless you don't show up.
Yeah.
It wasn't all pleasant. Yeah.
No, yeah, go on.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't all pleasant at Laguna Seca because, well, the big one is Marcus Ericsson bringing out the third full course caution about what seemed like 50 minutes, a pizza delivery, a book reading, some vacuuming, and then realizing that his car was stranded at the top of a blind crest before they threw the full course yellow. It's a big one for me because, like, before that, you had Rinus Veekay in the gravel trap right at the end of the pit window. But we don't like what the game is there, but we understand that that's the game and that's the way they're going to play it. I do not get why Marcus Ericsson had to wait that long for them to throw full course yellow. One, because it's dangerous. I know Ericsson spun off the racing line. There have been other drivers that go on record say it wasn't really that big of a deal. I thought it was fine, et cetera, et cetera. But it is over the crest of a blind hill. One incident I thought of that immediately thought of 2009 at Sonoma, Will Power messed up his back because he couldn't see Nelson Philippe's stranded car that had spun over the top of blind crest on the racing line. They're both very lucky to have not suffered even worse injuries, although in Philippe's case, they'll likely not exactly do that. He never raced in an IndyCar again. And Power missed pretty much the end of that 09 season. It could have been bad. And then also, like, for Ericsson's sake, wouldn't have thrown the full course yellow at that time, given him more time to, like, recover and, like, not finish as far down in 25th as he ultimately didn't finish the race. It's another wound on what's been an otherwise bad season. I don't get this one at all, man.
It was infuriating to watch in real time. It was like, look, IndyCar has been accused of many a bout of homerism in over the years. It's a very boys club kind of racing national series. When Will Buxton, James Hinchcliffe, and Townsend Bell are all unified, screaming at the TV screen, begging for a caution to drop, I think that sums up the scenario better than I ever could. Because we saw the onboard of Palou Award's car as he was driving past Ericsson's stricken car. You cannot see him until you go over the crest.
Yeah.
It's blind. You can't see Ericsson's car. Yes, there was a local yellow in that zone. So the drivers knew there was clearly something going on up there. But what if someone's attempting an overtaking to the corkscrew?
You shudder to think, because ultimately you do have to deviate from the racing line and put yourself in a position where Ericsson's car would have been. What if Ericsson gets the all clear, but then somebody else whips around the corner and then all of a sudden he's in a burnout straight in the path of somebody? I've seen this happen at IMSA races before. Yeah. I remember this at the Sebring 12 Hours. Somebody tries to do a spin turn to rejoin right in front of somebody. That was Alex Tagliani who pulled that off, by the way. That's an Indy 500 pole sitter. That's an IndyCar Series, Champ Car World Series race winner that did that. And that was on a flat track.
It's not good enough from race control. I get it. You want to give these cars and these drivers every chance to recover. They can do that now under the hybrid system. It's one of the few gains of the hybrid system is that these cars can manually restart and launch without the need of a jack being put into the rear of it. That's a huge plus.
But how much time do you give them before you realize, like, hey, this thing isn't firing?
It was a good minute and a half. There were cars coming around in that zone twice before they pulled the caution out. It should not be a full lap on track of a stricken car without a caution. That is ridiculous. That is needlessly dangerous. I've said it a million times before. We cannot praise the excellent IndyCar safety team while at the same time have a series that promotes not putting medical help on the track as soon as possible. Yes, Ericsson was fine, but You can't brag about how quick the response is if the response can't go onto a live track until a caution comes out that's being held for a minute because you want to give Ericsson too much time to recover. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's dangerous. It's unnecessary, and there is no good reason to keep doing this. And look, I was already angry enough at the Rinus Veekay incident because, again, they gave Palou and the leaders the option to pit. It was right in the middle of the pit window. So, of course, leaders go, essentially Palou gets to stop for free, and then they pull out the caution afterwards. Rinus Veekay's car is stricken on the side of the road, dead, and vulnerable for a minute and a half, 2 minutes even. Why? Because you think you've got to give the leader a chance to pit? Motorsport is unfair. Suck it up. You cannot please everybody. You are going to screw some. If IndyCar is a series that believes its pit is closed the moment a caution drops, you have to accept that somebody's going to get screwed. It's not like Formula One where you can come in at any time. You can anticipate the yellow to a degree, right? Sometimes you're just going to get screwed.
We all know that in North American Motorsport, we do not believe in the Code 60. We do not believe in the virtual safety car or the full course yellow, the virtual full course yellow and all that, because that's just not entertaining. Although I do find it funny that if they really wanted to twist the knife to Palou for entertainment purposes, it would have been better off throwing the yellow immediately and shutting him out of the pits and blowing up his strategy.
Yeah. Oh, we even had, as Kira points out in the chat, Colton Herta saying, like, it's unfair on the leaders because they usually run long, so that's why it needs to happen. I'm just like, no, this is just stupid. Like, we don't have to do it like this. We just don't. And I know IndyCar are never going to fix this. They believe you shut the pits off the moment you drop a caution. Fine. But please do not sit there and call it anything other than race manipulation, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, there's no buts, there's no debate about this. You are manipulating the situation of the race to benefit the leaders because you're giving the leaders a choice. It's that simple. You're giving them a choice they did not have before, and you're giving them information. They know the caution's about to drop, and you're giving them the information to make an informed decision as to whether or not to stop. It's that simple. It's manipulating the race. Call it what it is.
Oh, it's soft. I call it soft race manipulation for a reason.
We killed Michael Massey for less than this. Not even joking.
That wasn't a tie. That wasn't a everything's tied final race of the season, last lap sprint between two drivers whose fan bases are so ideologically polarized that it's just like World War III is broken out on track.
Right. I get the context is different, but IndyCar is a lot more blatant about how it goes down in these sorts of scenarios, and I feel like we're not mad about it enough. Like, that was bad. The Ericsson situation was even worse and completely unnecessary. And Kyle Novak has to do better as race director. He just does. I'm sorry. And look, I've not held back on him. I do not like his style of control as a race director. And this was another example of, you know what it was? It just adds a bitter taste to what was already a difficult race in the first place. And it wasn't a classic. It wasn't a race loaded with action. And then you got the bitter taste in your mouth of soft race manipulation, and
you've caused a very needlessly dangerous situation with Ericsson. I completely get that. I thought the race was generally pretty good. All that aside, it was a good race.
Yeah. I felt it was okay. I felt like it was okay. I may have been harsh in my review when I gave it a 4. I didn't particularly enjoy it. There was an above average level of passing for Laguna Seca. Yeah. It's a tricky track to pass around. I acknowledge that. It's not the easiest to contend with. But I think I was just upping my dander because of how shitty the race was officiated, to be honest.
I don't disagree. And I mean, I've been at events where they have deployed similar tactics at race control. We cannot throw a full course caution or a safety car because it'll close the pit lane before the leaders have a chance to come in. I've seen that happen in GT4 races where they have left a driver who cannot walk, has no use of his legs, stranded out in the middle of the track on the racing line at the top of the hill at VIR. And that was like the angriest that like I've ever been like watching a race play out.
It's dumb. It's dumb. It's not necessary. But I feel like for it to change, the entire culture of how North American motorsport races would have to change. And I don't think they're going to be doing that anytime soon. So,
well, there are other ways that we can change it, but I really don't want to entertain those thoughts.
Just have a code 60. It really is that simple.
Other items of business. What has gotten into Callum Ilott? It's like he's remembered, I'm Callum Ilott. At one point, I was good enough to break it to Formula One, but circumstances didn't go my way.
All of a sudden, Prima has 4 top 10 finishes in the last 8 rounds, 7 rounds even, and they've actually improved their best finish 4 times in the space of the last 2 months. They were 10th in Gateway with Schwartzman. They were 9th in Iowa Race 2 with Schwartzman. Ilott finished 8th in Toronto and now a 6th at Laguna Seca. And I tell you, he did a Dixon. It was clever. He pitted off sequence on lap 12. Got rid of the black tire he started the race on, ran reds for the rest of the race, was careful on his fuel, saved enough to be able to do the race on 2 more stops, did a Dixon, came out in 6th. Sometimes it helps to pay attention to what the best drivers do, because Ilott finished directly behind Scott Dixon. Brilliant strategy. Well done, Prima. An excellent result. And boy, did Callum need that, because he's had a dreadful season up until the last 2 weeks.
Only 5 points apart in the standings now, which is about where you think it should be for drivers of this pedigree.
Definitely. Shout out to them. Carl Kirkwood, come on, man. Like, you know what's wild? Man completely wrecked Rinus Veekay, and then they got into a Twitter beef over it. Like, I love the fact that Kirkwood held his hands up and apologized for the mistake. Rinus Veekay indirected the man by saying our race was ruined by somebody else's mistake. And then Carl Kirkwood hit him with the, well, actually, you braked 20 meters. You braked, I think it was something he said, something like 20 meters or 20 feet earlier than he did on the previous lap. And basically accused Rinus of brake testing, but it's my fault. Petty man.
It's the pettiness that comes of a driver who knows he's thrown away second in the championship, and a driver who had another opportunity to build on Toronto just go right down the toilet.
Yeah, and that mathematically eliminated Carl Kirkwood from title contention. Only 2 men can win it now.
Speaking of throwing it down the toilet,
go on.
Magic number's 3. The magic number is 3.
What? I'm missing the reference. Help me out here.
We have 3 races left.
Oh,
for
yes.
Team Penske to avoid the unthinkable, the impossible, the unfathomable.
It's amazing because Penske just had a completely normal and quiet day. Will Powell was 7th, didn't do anything of note. McLaughlin finished 10th and Newgarden finished 11th. It was a quiet day with no drama to speak of. And honestly, if you're Team Penske, that probably in of itself is a marked improvement. Sometimes you just need a quiet day to reset.
Yep, most teams will take that. Most teams are Team Penske.
Down to 3. 3 races to go. You've gone well in Portland before. You've got 3 wins there in the last 5 years. You've got every shot of being able to win that with Power, who dominated that race last year. McLaughlin's dominated that race before. There's no reason why Penske can't win this weekend.
And also a short oval and a medium-sized oval to end the season. Time's ticking.
All Penske dominant, all dominant areas. They really should win one out of these last 3. You've got 9 bullets in the chamber. Don't waste them.
Instructions unclear. We're going to fire them right into our feet.
Hey, my brother Lundgaard. Yes. Christian Lundgaard back in second. Lundgaard almost certainly now will finish top 5 in the championship this year. He's got a 42-point lead on Felix Rosenqvist, who had the beautiful Grateful Dead livery that didn't last. I was very disappointed. But Lundgaard second. Yes.
Take those. Herta third. Herta got his second podium of the season. You feel like that's the most he could get. That F1 thing really ain't happening, man. I don't know what to tell people.
No, he needs to finish 4th to get a super license. He's 64 points behind Carl Kirkwood, his teammate this year. It's amazing that Colton Herta basically has stopped making the big errors that we've associated with him for the most part, and has actually got his head down, and he's been completely outclassed by Carl Kirkwood this year.
His own weird.
And his own pit crew, which just did not help. But it is kind of wild that even if you consider that, Kirkwood's been better than him this year straight up. That's wild.
All stuff to talk about on future episodes, like our season reviews. Assuming you don't have to verify your legal identity to prove you're 18 to listen to this.
Fucking UK government. Like, again, I'll say this off on the record before we go, because we're pretty much done here anyway. Call this what it is. They are trying to ban cool queer shit. The fact that they are banning 18 plus video games, you need to be 18 plus to apparently log into Spotify now, and YouTube videos, they think queer shit is pornography. That's why they're banning all of this. Call it what it is. It's a heap of shit, and our government is basically trying to clamp down on freedom of speech and expression. It's
because clearly reform wants it, and if you oppose these measures, you're clearly a Nigel Farage guy.
Yeah, of course, because this country is broken politically, and it needs a lot of help to fix it. And now the Labour Party are threatening to ban VPNs as a workaround. All I'm saying is, if you don't like this, call Visa and MasterCard and tell them why you think it's bullshit. Keep up the pressure. You're doing great. Cheers.
Cheers. Absolutely. To broken governments on both sides of the Atlantic. We're going to get out of here, as Dre would say, because light weekend, Hungary, Suzuka 8 hours, all weather permitting, of course.
IMSA Road America.
I'm likely already there. Go say hi.
Yeah, NASCAR in Iowa, all of that shit this weekend. It's a busy one. Super GTs as well this one second, isn't it? Again, like it's at Fuji, but again, weather depending. Yeah, again, we're pressed all our friends in Japan. Hopefully everybody works out okay over there. That'll do it for this episode of M1. I want to be back next week to review F1's Hungarian Grand Prix, the newly revamped Hungaro wing. Welcome back to McLaren Civil War, episode 14. Until then, I've been Dre Harrison. He's been RJ O'Connell. Thank you very much for listening. And we'll catch you guys next time. Sayonara.
Later, y'all.
No, but seriously, keep calling Visa.